Chai Yaya Liphe Yukte Lapesha Niya Rati Keliki Yaya Lipesha Niya Tatrati Dakshati Valapasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Tatrati Dakshati Valapasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Tashathari Tena Samasta Shastre Uttathapa Vateva Sati Tena Sashathari Tena Samasta Shastre Uttathapa Vateva Sati Shastre Uttathapa Kintu Prabhoya Priyaeva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi Jaya suvam tasya yashasti sandhyan Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Jaya Suvam Tasya Shakti Sandhya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Hariharaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopa Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Shri Rupa Sanatan Pata Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhura Radha Nila Madhura Radhe. Jaya Radha Nila Madhura Radha Nila Madhura Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha. Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupada Brahmhamsa Proteka Acharya Ashtota Shatashi Shima Devan Grace Aparchana Rinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Brahmhamsa Proteka Acharya Ashtota Shatashi Shima Devan Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridasa Kuru Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Gaura Pamanandi Hari Hari. Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Narasimho Parato Narasimho Narasimho Parato Narasimho Yeto Yeto Yamitato Narasimho Yeto Yamitato Narasimho Bahir Narasimho Hrudaye Narasimho Narasimho Hrudaye Narasimha Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade Simhamadim Sharanam Prapade Tavakara Kamalavare Nakha Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Brunga केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमलवरेण का अद्भुत शृंगा दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय सिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज ओ प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपा 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 जय जय प्रभुपा 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 जय जय प्रभुपा जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव या गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक लक्ष्मण नरसिंह स्वामी भगवान की जय। भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ए अभिलाषी। राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ए अभिलाषी। जे तुम्हारा शरण लो तारा वांछ पूर्ण हो। कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी। मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो वास। नयने हरिबो सदा जुगल रूप राशि। ये निवेदन दारो सखी अनुगत करो। सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी। दीना कृष्ण दासे को ये न मोरा होय। श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न बासी। श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी। नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी। नमो नमः यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे।
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi. Vrinda Devi Tulsi Maharani ki.
Vrindaya Tulasi Devaya Priyaya Keshava Sacha Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satyavataya Namo Namaha. Vrindaya Tulasi Devaya Priyaya Keshava Sacha Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satyavataya Namo Namaha. Vrindaya Tulasi Devaya Priyaya Keshava Sacha Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satyavataya Namo Namaha. Vrinda Devi Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire is to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna.
Whoever takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. Bestowing your mercy on him, you make resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you will also grant me a residence in the pleasure fields of Sri Vrindavan. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of the cowherd dances of Raja. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lonely servant of Krishna prays, may I always swim in the love of Sri Radha and Govinda. Ki Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shriya Gandhava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Ananda Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnarmita Sadhanam Sarvatmasnapanam Harami Jayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nananakali Bahuda Nitya Sarva Shakti Tatrapita Niyamita Smaranina Kalaha Etadishi Javakripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durudevami Disham Yiphajanina Nuraka Trinata Pisunichena Karorati Sahishnuna Avanta Manadena Chaitanya Sudaparihi Nathanam Nachanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagati Shakamaye Mama Jammani Jamanishware Pavata Bhaktir Haituki Tvai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Pavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Panchaja Sthitaturi Satesham Vichintaya Nayanam Kaladashuru Taraya Vadanam Katkata Rudaya Gira Pulakai Nichitam Vapur Kada Tavanama Kahane Bhavishyati Yuga Itam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravisha Itam Shunya Itam Chaka Sarvam Govinda Virahe Name Ashri Shava Padaratam Pinnastumam Adarshanam Marmhatam Karotuva Yatha Tatha Va Vitatha Tu Lampato Matprananatha Tu Saeva Na Paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is prime benediction for humanity in the large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases ocean transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone grants all benediction to human beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharanjananda, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, one will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant the holy name. One my voice choke up, and one with the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling on separation, I am considered the moment to be like millennium. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Shastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme devotees who have dedicated their lives for the propagation of holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of the demigods of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature pursuant to Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glorious holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachments even understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna praying. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just desire trees and can fulfill the desire of everyone, and the full of compassion fallen conditioned soul. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bheva patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Mangala Charanam prayers ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshum Umlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapantantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamshta Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Tarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Jala Premada Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarini Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harini Namo Gaurakishoraya Saksha Vairagya Mutaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padam Bojayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namini Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumistvam Nirdishta Sajana Priya Vaishnava Savabhauma Shri Jaganathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Pyevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinapanto Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jaitam Sroto Pangor Mamamanda Matergati Masarasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vindaranya Kalpa Jumadaha Shimadrana Gara Simhasanastito
Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasaram Divam Siva Tatastita Karsan Venus Swanir Gopir Gopinatak Striye Struna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vritesa Sarabir Abhipadayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrama Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantam Araminda Dalayataksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Prakoti Kamaniya Vishesa Sobam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvana Malya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Shamam Trivanga Lalita Nita Prakasham Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendri Vrittimanti Pasyanti Pantika Yanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujwala Vikrahasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaita Machutam Anadi Mananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastakoti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Manipungamanam So Pyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tatve Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chayatam Jagadanda Koti Yashchakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Astra Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktar Yameva Nikama Pratitaistuvanti Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Bhista Virya Eva Nitya Rupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksade Nidayesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amenatistan Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvane Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagananda Koti Koti Swasesru Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Asesa Bhutam Adipurisham Tamaham Bajami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Trigun Yatad Visai Veda Vitaya Manam Sattva Vulambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Yapraninam Pratifalam Smaratam Upetya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasram Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tale Chatasya Devi Maheswaridam Sute Sutesu Te Te Prabhavani Chaya Vitascha Yena Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shasti State Pralaya Sadhava Saktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupam Abhyasya Chichestate Sa Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetu Ya Sambhutam Apitata Samapaitikarya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Departsadev Hita Santanam Abhyapetya Dipayate Vivita Hetu Samanu Dharma Yastadvigeva Hicha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Pachale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupa Adhara Saktim Avalambya Paramsma Murtim Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamata Avalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadanda Nata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalavi Sesho Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basman Yatasma Sakalesu Najesu Tejas Viyam Kiyat Prakatayata Pitadvatatra Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidhanu Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dvande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihantam Alamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamabu Murutisascha Kalas Tatatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sakala Grahana Raja Samasta Suramurti Sesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Papa Nichaya Sutayastapam Si Brahma Dikita Patakavati Sajiva Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastvindra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhanu Rupa Valabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kinchicha Bhakti Bhajam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Bitte Vatsalya Moha Gurugoro Vasevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sadrisim Tanamaparete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Drumabu Mishchintamani Ganama Itoyam Amritam Kataganam Nadyam Gamanam Abhivam Sipriya Saki Chiranandam Chuti Param Apitadas Vadyam Apicha Sayatra Shiradi Bhishravadi Shirabi Vyasta Sumahan Nimesa Dakyova Vajati Nahiyatra Bisamaya Bhaje Swita Dupam Tamaham Ihugolakam Itiam Vidantaste Santakshiti Viracharakati Paye She Guru Vastika prayers Kijay. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master extinguishes the blazing fire material existence out from my respectful basis not the lotus feet, such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves out from my respectful basis unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shishya, Radha, and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I, from my respectful basis, unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always was eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet as such spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis who at different times make different tastes or arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet as such spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet as such spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi Haribol, Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraja Ki Jai, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, verse number 41. Mriganti yatte mukapadmanidais Chanda suparnar rishaya vivikte Yasyagamar soda sandvarayaha Padam padam tirtha pada prapana Mriganti, searching after, yat, as, te, your, mukha padma, lotus-like face, nidai, by those who have taken shelter of such a lotus flower. Chanda, Vedic hymns, Suparnai, by the wings, Rishaya, the sages, Vivikte, in clear mind, Yasya, whose, Agamarsa Uda, that which offers freedom from all reactions to sin. Sarit, rivers, Varaya, in the best. Padam padam, in every step. Tirthapada, one whose lotus feet are as good as a place of pilgrimage. Prapana, taking shelter. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The lotus feet of the Lord are by themselves the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. The great, clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search after the nest of your lotus-like face. Some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Paramahansas are compared to royal swans who make their nests on the petals of the lotus flower. The Lord's transcendental bodily parts are always compared to the lotus flower because, in the material world, the lotus flower is the last word in beauty. The most beautiful thing in the world is the Vedas or Bhagavad Gita because therein knowledge is imparted by the personality of Godhead Himself. The Paramahansa makes his nest in the lotus-like face of the Lord and always seeks shelter at His lotus feet, which are reached by the wings of Vedic wisdom. Since the Lord is the original source of all emanations, intelligent persons, enlightened by Vedic knowledge, seek the shelter of the Lord, just as birds who leave the nest again search out the nest to take complete rest. All Vedic knowledge is meant for understanding the Supreme Lord, as stated by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Vedaishta sarvir aham eva vidya. Intelligent persons who are like swans take shelter of the Lord by all means and do not hover on the mental plane by fruitlessly speculating on different philosophies. The Lord is so kind that he has spread the river Ganges throughout the universe so that by taking bath in that holy river, everyone can get release from the reactions of sins, which occur at every step. There are many rivers in the world which are able to evoke one's sense of God consciousness simply by one's bathing in them, and the river Ganges is chief amongst them. In India, there are 5 sacred rivers, but the Ganges is the most sacred. The river Ganges and Bhagavad Gita are chief sources of transcendental happiness for mankind, and intelligent persons can take shelter of them to go back home, back to Godhead. Even Sripada Sankaracharya recommends that a little knowledge in Bhagavad Gita and the drinking of a little quantity of Ganges water can save one from the punishment of Yamaraja. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lotus feet of the Lord are by themselves the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. The great, clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search after the nest of your lotus-like face. Some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Well, here we see some metaphors. Now, what is a metaphor? A metaphor is different, somewhat different than a simile. A simile is when you say such and such is like such and such. So whenever there's like or similar to, that's a simile. But a metaphor says something in a way by using a different word to stand in place of what you're talking about. So therefore, here's an example of that. The great clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search after the nest of your lotus-like face. So, nest, lotus-like face. It doesn't say the nest is like the lotus face. It says nest, lotus face. And it says carried by wings of the Vedas. Now, the Vedas have wings? No. But they do in the sense that they help you gain knowledge. So this is a metaphor, wings of the Vedas. It doesn't say that the Vedas are like the wings of a bird. Right? It replaces the like by wings of the Vedas. So you understand what it means in a sense, because the Vedas give you flights of wisdom. Your enlightenment is enhanced. It's just like rising up from the earth to the sky. You're rising up to the spiritual sky by the wings of the Vedas. So this is all very poetic, and you can see that Vyasadeva is much greater than Shakespeare or any other writer, because at the same time he's expressing the most deepest philosophical principles, but he's also doing it with very choice poetic phrases and sentences. Okay. So some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best of rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions. Okay, so the two things are mentioned here, the Ganges and Bhagavad Gita. Both of these are chief sources of transcendental happiness for mankind, and intelligent persons can take shelter of them to go back home, back to Godhead. So, we have, fortunately, now you can buy little bottles of Ganges water in the Indian stores and sip it every day, and you can hear Bhagavad Gita every day. So even though we're, 10,000 miles away from India, still we have the best of India right here in Seattle, because we have water from the Ganges, and we have, of course, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this Bhagavad Gita is very important because it's Krishna speaking about himself. And to realize this, I'm going to give an example now of one verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nitya saha tasyaham surlabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. This is the 8th chapter, 14th verse of Bhagavad Gita. For one who always remembers me without deviation, Krishna says, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, O Arjuna, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Well, many times we have explained how in Kali Yuga it's very, very difficult to be Krishna conscious, but therefore Krishna makes it easy, especially in his form as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But to understand what it really means to be a pure devotee is explained in this purport, 8:14. It's very profound. This one purport is enough to take you back to Godhead. And Prabhupada writes, this verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. So this word unalloyed is very important. He takes this from the science of metallurgy. When you have an unalloyed, let's say, mineral, let's say gold, when the gold comes out of the gold mine, usually it's mixed with something else, some kind of metals. So they have to cure it. How do they cure it? They increase the temperature and they melt either the gold first or the contaminating metal or whatever it is first. And then they separate the two. And then you get unalloyed. An alloy is a mixture of metals. An unalloyed, or unalloyed means there's no mixture, it's pure. So he's using this metallurgical term he uses it to explain what is a pure devotee. And it says here, he's unalloyed devotees. In other words, they have only one interest, not mixed with anything else. And what is that interest? To serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. That means with love and devotion. So previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Okay. So all 4 of those persons have some material goal. So they're not considered pure devotees. They're not unalloyed devotees. They have some purpose why they're coming to Krishna, some personal motive why they're coming to Krishna. But because they're coming to Krishna, they can be purified, just like putting the raw piece of gold that might be mixed with some other alloy or some other metal or some other substance. You put it in the fire and you separate the gold from the other contaminants. And now you have unalloyed pure gold. So he says, the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have been described: karma yoga, jnana yoga, and hatha yoga, or mystic yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga, without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha, as indicated by the word ananya cheta in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. So now we're beginning to understand what it means to be a pure devotee. You have no other desires other than to please Krishna. Another way of saying this is niskama. Niskama, Niskama, which means not having any desires, not desiring anything except to serve Krishna. And in other words, no material desires, and one spiritual desire, that is to always be engaged in the service of Krishna. That is niskama. So it says, as indicated by the word ananya cheta, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, that you would still be in the material world even though you're in the heavenly planets, and still subject to birth and death, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti, that's merging into the Brahmajyoti, thinking there's nothing beyond it. That's the Mayavad philosophy, which is incorrect. Or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. So salvation means you could also merge into the body of Krishna, or you could merge into the Brahmajyoti. So there's two types of merging into the Brahmajyoti or merging into the body of Krishna. Sisupala merged into the body of Krishna. The Mayavadis are seeking to merge into the Brahman effulgence. So that is a type of liberation or salvation, right? But as long as one has a misconception of Vedanti Tattvavitas Tattvam Yajganam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan Iti Sabdyate, that there is the Brahmajyoti, there's Paramatma realization, and then there is realizing Krishna or Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Mayavadis reject the existence of a personality of Godhead, or they reject their own personality or personal identity. So we see why there is no devotional service in the Brahmajyoti. And devotional service requires two people, the devotee and the Lord. So how can you attain pure Krishna consciousness when you deny the existence of Krishna? And therefore, as soon as you deny the existence of Krishna, you deny the possibility of performing devotional service. And that's exactly what the Mayavadis do. They will stop worshiping. They sometimes worship deities, but only as a stepladder. In other words, Prabhupada gives the example, you take a ladder and climb up to the second floor of a building, and then you throw away the ladder. So that's exactly what they do. They'll worship deity sometimes, and when they think that they have achieved Brahman, they stop worshiping. There was an example of that here. There was this one person that was coming all the time. He was a great supporter of our temple in the early days, very early days, when we had the little house. And all of a sudden, he stopped coming. And after about 2 years, I met him somewhere. I said, Prabhu, how are you? He said, oh, I'm doing really fine. I said, how come you don't come to the temple? He said, oh, well, I realized that Prabhupada did not give us the highest knowledge. And I found another guru who's given me the highest knowledge. I said, really? That's very interesting. So what is the highest knowledge? He said, the highest knowledge, he said, first of all, the deity worship, that's for low-class people. You know, they need some type of image for them to sort of meditate on God. But there's a higher type of knowledge and realization. I said, what's that? He said, that is dancing with the gopis. I said, you're going to dance with the gopis? Yes, of course. Your guru did not teach you that, but my guru is teaching me that. This is complete nonsense, of course. By the way, nobody can dance with the gopis except Krishna and Balaram. Balaram has his own set of gopis to dance with, and Krishna has his own set of gopis to dance with. Anybody else that tries to dance with them will be killed immediately, just like Dravida Gorilla. He tried to dance with the gopis, and Balaram killed him right away. So this is complete nonsense what they're talking about, you know. And And I asked him, well, what do you do? I said, we meditate. I said, what do you meditate on? And he said, well, we meditate on the third eye, on the light, this thing, that thing. So it's all hodgepodge, right? And they by false ego, they sort of propel themselves into this zone of ignorance, thinking that they've attained some type of perfection. But still, they're engaged in, oftentimes, in sinful activities. Or at least denying the individuality of Krishna, that's sinful also. So, therefore, Prabhupada says, a pure devotee does not desire anything, meaning anything material. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Niskama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. So what does he desire? He desires to please the Lord, not to please himself. So, therefore, when you come to Krishna consciousness, instead of asking for something from Krishna, we're always offering service to Krishna with love and devotion. That's a completely different, let's say, set of relationships. It's a completely different relationship set. Most people go to God to get something from him, but devotees go to God to give something to him. So we see that people come to the temple and they bring some bananas and fruits and spices and other things. They're always coming with something and offering it to the deities. That is the correct thing to do. But more important than offering bananas and other fruits and sometimes lentils and so forth, what's more important is offering your service to the Lord. They are offering some service to the Lord, but when you offer your body, your mind, your intelligence, your purified ego to the Lord, then that is most significant. And therefore it says here, perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. This is a proverb. This is a significant proverb. Perfect peace belongs to the devotee alone, not to those who strive for personal gain. Whereas a jnani yogi, a karma yogi or hatha yogi, has his own selfish interests. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he's easy to attain. So something that's impossible becomes very easy to obtain. Like, for example, if you have the wrong key to open a lock, you can do whatever you want. It's not going to open. But if you have the right key, it's very easy to open it. Right? So the right key is to give up all material desires and replace them with pure desires to please Krishna. All of a sudden, the lock opens very easily. Otherwise, you can keep trying with the wrong key. It will never open. And what is the wrong key? Okay, we're going to discuss that now. This is explained by Prabhupada in a wonderful lecture on Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 13th verse. Dehinosmin yata dehe komaran yuvanam jara tata dehantara prabdhiras tatra namuyate. So, in this verse, he says, okay, first thing he says, Bhagavad Gita as it is pure knowledge. Beginning with the first knowledge, one has to understand that he is not this body, because this is the basic principle of all ignorance. I am this body, I am American, I am Indian, I am Brahmana, I am this, I am that. This is the basic principle. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says the same thing in a different way. He says, I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya, I am not a Sudra, I am not a Brahmachari, I am not a Grihastha, I am not a Vanaprastha, I am not a sannyasi. These are negations. Then what is the positive? He says, Gopi Bhartar Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Dasana Dasa. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 13.80. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the Gopi Bhartu, Krishna, who maintains the gopis. So this is our identification. But we have forgotten our identification. Krishna Buliya Jeev Bhagavanshakare Pasatid Mayatare Japatiyadare. We have forgotten our real relationship with Krishna, and we are trying to be happy by material adjustment. This is modern civilization. One is thinking, if I get such nice house, nice motor car, nice business, nice bank balance, nice wife, nice children, this is material civilization. But they do not know, despite all these nice things, he will never be happy. So that's the point. The people are trying to be happy today by material adjustment. That is impossible. You can adjust as much as you want, matter. You buy the best house, the best car, the best watch, the best education, the best body, all these things, best, and you're still not going to be happy. And he says, despite all these nice things, he will never be happy. So, what is that? Well, someone will say, "What about that's a false statement. I am happy." Well, yeah, there might be some periods where someone is happy, but then there's always a problem. Either there's a health problem, or there's a relationship problem, or there's a political problem, or there's a weather problem, or there's a body problem. There's always going to be a problem. Especially as you get older, every day there's a new pain. I can tell you that for a fact. It's because I'm a lot older than all of you. So, there's always going to be some problem in the material world. That's the nature of the material world. That's what Durga does. First she rewards you, material success, and then she takes it away from you, either slowly, in a very excruciating way, or very quickly in a devastating way. So there's this one video not so long ago. There was a flood, I think it was in Tennessee. And this lady in her house, she's looking out the window and making a video of the river, of the water going past her house. And all of a sudden, you see the house goes also. And that lady died. She drowned. But somehow or other, they got the camera, and they were showing, how it happened. It was unbelievable. She's standing at the window of her house, right, and she's taking the video with some kind of camera or whatever, or her cell phone, and all of a sudden, the house moves, and it goes away, right? So they must have recovered the cell phone or something, and did that lady know she was going to die? No, she didn't know. She thought, I'll have video of this special, extraordinary thing. This massive water is coming by, but it took her house and her life. So we see there's always going to be a problem in the material world. That's the nature. When you say Durga, whenever you say Dur, it means something bad is going to happen, right? Something that is going to be against one's material desires. So Prabhupada says, this is material civilization, but they do not know. People think nice house, nice motor car, nice business, nice bank balance, nice wife or husband, nice children, nice education, so forth. This is material civilization, but they do not know. Despite all these nice things, he will never be happy. Now, you Europeans and Americans, you have got a good qualification. I described many times that you are no more very much interested in all these nice things, so-called nice things. Real nice thing is spiritual understanding. That nice thing begins, Aham Brahmasmi, I am not this body. That is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is instructing Arjuna that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. Try to understand. So we're trying to understand, but there are so many obstacles to this understanding. There's weaknesses, what's called weaknesses of the heart. That's a very interesting concept, the weaknesses of the heart. I've seen this many times. That's explained in the 13th chapter. Let's see where that is. At the end of the chapter, I hope. Okay, it's the 14th chapter. Okay. No, the 15th chapter. Yeah, definitely the 15th chapter. Yeah. So at the end of the 15th chapter, it says, while one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. Vanquished means purified, wiped out, cleaned, right? The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The heart is the seat of emotions and also the seat of Paramatma and your soul. So it's a very sensitive part of the body, right? Just like, when you pledge allegiance to the United States, you have to put your hand on your heart. Have you ever done that? If you become a citizen, they'll ask you to pledge allegiance to the United States. You have to put your hand on your heart, because the heart is the place where, it's what's keeping you alive. As long as the heart is working, you're alive. So as soon as the heart stops beating, you're dead. So anyway, the first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. So these are the weaknesses of the heart. Oh, if I can import from China these junk pens and then have them write down on the pen some logo, like Microsoft or something like that, and I can sell, 20,000 to Microsoft and 50,000 to Amazon and 30,000 to Oracle and like that. So I'll become a millionaire. So this is the weakness of the heart. It's the desire to lord it over material nature. So, and by the way, Prabhupada once said, you don't really make a lot of money by manufacturing, because it's a big enterprise to manufacture something, right? He said the best thing is you import from a manufacturer and just sell it. That's what a lot of people do. They import something from China or from Japan or something, and they just sell it. You can make a lot more money. You don't need the factory. You don't need all those workers. In fact, I knew someone like that in France. There was this one Jewish man. He had a essential oil business. Now he was born in Russia. In fact, one of his brothers was still in Russia, and through bribery, through different tactics. See, when you deal with Russia, especially communist Russia, it was ideal for the capitalists. They loved it, because all you have to do is convince one person in the government to give you an exclusivity, and you become a millionaire very quickly. Because Russia was like that. They liked to work with one person in different types of industries or in products that they had for sale. So he got the sole, let's say, exclusivity of importing essential oils from Russia and selling them in Europe, all of Europe, right? And he only had 3 or 4 workers, and he was making millions of dollars, right? You see how if you get an exclusive exclusivity on a product that's manufactured by someone else, and then you just have to distribute it. You don't need the factory. You don't need the raw materials. You don't need this. You don't need that. All you have to do is just have the money to buy the product and then sell it for a profit, and you make a lot of money. So what's happening here is people are always desiring to lord it over material nature. And the way you lord over material nature is you have to control people, and you have to have access to raw materials or to some things that you can put together and then sell it. So as soon as that desire develops in the mind to dominate some part of nature, that's the first weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the Supreme Lord. I saw this happen once to a devotee. He was a very good devotee. He was always coming to Mangala Aarti. He was always listening to classes. He was always going on Sankirtan. He was always distributing books. But then one day, he stopped doing it. And I asked him why. He said, "Oh, well, I have to make some money." I said, "Okay, but weren't you selling books?" "Well, that's not enough." "All right, but you're not coming to temple at all." I said, "I don't have the time. I'm building up my business." So it completely stopped him from coming to the temple. And he was a very good devotee. But as soon as that thought comes into the mind of dominating nature, and then you do it through some type of business, you get so involved you don't have time at all for Krishna consciousness. You can't even chant your rounds. So the second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. So number one, to dominate material nature. And when you become successful at doing it, you become attached to what you're dominating, and you can't let go of it anymore. And so you become trapped, and then you don't have any time for Krishna consciousness. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of the heart, and the rest of the chapter, from the 6th verse through the end, discusses Purushottama Yoga, how to be engaged in Krishna's service. So that's the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so the modern civilization, Prabhupada says, in modern civilization, it's impossible to be happy by material adjustment. This is what everyone's trying to do, adjust things so that they'll be happy. Oh, this house is not the right house, I have to buy another house. Oh, this car is not the right car, I got to buy another car. Oh, this suit doesn't fit me right, I have to buy another suit. This thing, that thing, always making some type of adjustment of material nature in order to be happy. We have forgotten our real relationship with Krishna, and we're trying to be happy by material adjustment. This is modern civilization. One is thinking, if I get such nice house, nice motor car, nice business, nice bank balance, nice wife, nice children, etc., etc., this is material civilization. But they do not know, despite all these nice things, he will never be happy. So in other words, they're trying to use this technique or this strategy of material adjustment and to be happy, without understanding that they'll never be happy. They're trying to do something that's impossible. Okay, so the real nice things begin by spiritual understanding. That nice thing begins, Aham Brahmasmi, I am not this body. That is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is instructing Arjuna, you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. Try to understand. Now, how many people actually understand that I have an eternal spirit soul, and it's related and coming from Krishna? In other words, if you accept that, then your real duty in the life is to serve Krishna, because you're part and parcel of the Lord. And the Lord is asking you to serve. Sarvadharmam prityaja mamekam saranam braja. He's saying, serve only me, right? Aham tvam sarvapabhibhyo mokshisami masucha. If you do this, I promise you, you'll come back to me. And therefore, masucha, don't hesitate, don't doubt, don't fear, do it. But no, people hesitate. They say, oh, if I surrender to Krishna, how will I make money? How will I do this? How will I do that? But actually, for thousands and millions of years, people have been surrendering to Krishna, and they have existed. Krishna has helped them to have their subsistence as well as to make spiritual advancement. So, therefore, Prabhupada said, so we should learn from Krishna. We should learn from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. Therefore, the author says that you accept this authority. Na Chaitanyat Krishnat Paratatvam Param Iha. If you want knowledge, then you have missed already, because when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 500 years ago, people already became fools and rascals. They did not care for the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, he again came as a devotee of Krishna to teach how to serve Krishna, how to love Krishna. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult. The same thing. When Krishna appeared, he said, Sarvadharmam prityaja mamekam saranam braja, 1866 Bhagavad Gita. Give up everything, so-called rascaldom, just surrender to me. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said the same thing as a devotee. Yare deka tarikaha Krishna upadesh. Whoever you meet, whoever you see, please explain to him Krishna upadesh. Who is Krishna? And teach him about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada says, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said the same thing as a devotee. He did not say anything new. That is authenticity. I have manufactured some new way. These are all rascaldom concepts. The same thing you should repeat. Just like in your country, it is said, old wine in new bottle. Old wine in new bottle. In other words, he's saying, Krishna's teaching the Vivaswan 140 million years ago is the same thing he taught Ikshvaku, the first king of the solar dynasty on the earth, and he spoke the same thing again to Arjuna, right? He spoke 140 million years ago to Vivaswan. He spoke it again over 2 million years ago to Ikshvaku, and then he spoke it again 5,000 years ago to Arjuna. And Prabhupada is repeating it in Bhagavad Gita as it is, the same thing. It's old wine in a new bottle. It hasn't changed anything. So now comes the most important point. That is authenticity. The same thing you should do. Just like in your country, it is said old wine is new in a new bottle. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching the same thing that Krishna said. Krishna says, Matak paratanam nanya kinchit asti dhananjaya. Bhagavad Gita 7:7. It says there's nothing superior to me, he's saying. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says the same thing. Yari deka tarikaha Krishna upadesh. And we are saying the same thing. Na Krishnat Chaitanyat Paratatvam. The highest truth is Krishna Chaitanya. There is no more superior truth than Krishna Chaitanya. Why? Because he is taking the same truth as Krishna said. This is called parampara system. What Krishna said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the same thing, and we are talking the same thing today. So there's no difficulty to understand the absolute truth. It may be presented, it's never presented in a different, it's never presented as something new. It is directly, Krishna says directly that you surrender unto me, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you preach this cult, Yari Deka Tarika Krishna Upadesh. The same thing. We are not going to teach anything which is not spoken by Krishna and which is not supported by Krishna Chaitanya Deva. That's the point. This is our principle. There's nothing new. Oh, I have a new way to preach, or I have a new philosophy. No. It's the same old, because old is gold, or old wine in a new bottle. It's the real thing. So this is our principle. This is Krishna consciousness movement. Krishna preached Krishna himself. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the same principle. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. And we are preaching the same thing. We do not preach anything else. We do not manufacture anything. That is not our business, to manufacture something new. Okay, so he says this again in a letter. Okay, I'm going to discuss that tomorrow. This is a big subject, so I can't do it now. We'll do it tomorrow. So are there any questions? So if you read 8:14, 8th chapter, 14th verse, you will understand what it means to be a pure devotee. I didn't read the whole purport. It's very detailed. But you should definitely read this in preparation for tomorrow. Yeah. Are there any questions? Okay, and we will have Guru Puja, Hari Bol, O Gaura Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bandhamui Savadana Te Bandhamui Savadana Te Janara Prasade Mae He Bhavatoriya Jaye Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chittete Kori Aikya Arana Kori Amaneya Sa Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttamagati. Krishna Pasade Pure Sarvasa Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasa Chakshudana Dila Jay Janme Janme Prabhu say Divya Gyani De Prokasito Prema Bhakti Jahite Avidya Vinasajate Ebeas Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasajate Vedega Janaracharito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Ebeas Kusakti Bhuvana Lokenat Lokera Jivana Lokenat Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha Mure Padachaya Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha Mure Padachaya Ebe Yasakusakti Bhuvana Ebeas Kusakti Bhuvana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bola Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Pararajika Chasta Tarasatara Shri Shrimadi's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaitika Radha Shivasri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Paramacharan Visesas. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain to pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic tremor emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu.